Hello, dear colleagues. So we are here today to speak about enterprise low-code platform developed by Netgrif. Before we introduce ourselves, so I would like to ask my colleague here, Luboš, what do you think about the studio here?
It's amazing in here. It looks really professional, and that's a really nice setup for us.
So I would like to thank the Pan-European University to give us this opportunity to use their studio and all the perfect staff here helping us. So as you know, we are more or less introvert IT guys and not so used to have cameras.
This sort of performance, right?
Yeah. So, okay. As I said, I would like to introduce Luboš here. Luboš is a pre-sale director of Netgrif, and he will help me to introduce our tool and our platform. So my name is Gabriel Juhás, and so you can maybe switch the slide. So this will be agenda. So we will start about Netgrif. Yeah, you can ask me something, and I can.
I will question you.
Yeah, you will question me. I know you do. You do it often, but I'm thankful for that. But otherwise,
you're welcome.
And then we will speak a little bit about the local no-code market and trends, and how the Netgrif platform fit in that area. And then I will give a floor to you to speak about use cases, because this is where you are at home. You speak with customers.
That's my part.
Yeah, it's your part. You speak with partners, and you do a great job in that way. And I will speak about technology and the concept, and then jump to demo.
Okay.
Because it's better to see once than to
hear 1,000 times.
Yeah, really. So after this boring introduction, you will get
some meat.
Some meat, as we say. Okay, perfect, Luboš. So actually, I started to research formalisms that are behind business processes and computations and computer science, and they are used as a basis of our platform. Mm-hmm. And as we have seen, there is a language called Petriflow, and it comes from Petri nets, which are actually which is a mathematical formalism developed by Karl Adam Petri in 1962. And I started in my diploma thesis in 1993, actually more than 30 years ago.
That was the time when I was not born yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So somehow, and then I was at different universities around Europe. I was in Denmark, Aarhus University, Technical University of Berlin, then University Karlsruhe, Eichstätt Ingolstadt, and I met with a lot of people that influenced the business process management area. So then I decided that maybe it could be helpful to bring my research to applications, and I started to develop my actually own modeling environment when you could use Petri nets to model processes. Mm-hmm. And then later on, I want to demonstrate to students how you can add data to that, how you can add forms to tasks in that.
The visualization for the end customer, for the end user.
Yeah, and how you can use it not only to model, but also to develop applications.
Okay.
This was the idea. And then I found some very good students of mine, you included, and we started the company in 2017. The first year we got lucky. It was not because of us, but we had a very good salesperson. Mm-hmm. We found a salesperson, Milan Shamai, who is not today with us, from who was
here with us.
Yeah. Who had 15-year plus experience in IBM. So, and he was helping us to find a client immediately. Like in first year, we found an insurance company, and we created a contracting system for them, and then everything started.
Yeah. And what is the situation right now?
So we have more than 30 developers. We have around 15 partners that are creating applications for the clients. So we started with two different branches of the company. One was for product, so for product development, the platform itself. and another was delivery
Okay.
department. And this delivery department actually did those applications using our platform for the customers.
Okay.
So actually we were our first own partner. Our delivery division was first partner for the product division in Netgrif.
Okay.
But nowadays we have more than 15 partners that are developing applications for end clients using this Petriflow language and deploying our Netgrif platform.
And let's not forget that we are having our platform as a source available on GitHub.
Yeah.
And there are right now, I think, around 30,000 downloads. So something else what the slide says, because in the slide there is 15, but we are having more than 30,000
Yeah,
downloads.
it's growing
in there.
really. It's growing exponentially. Somehow people love the platform. They love the thing that you can start for free, just using this open source version. And nowadays there are several 100 millions. Here is 100 million different instances running in production for different objects of our clients. So what does it mean? It means that you can really build robust enterprise applications with thousands of users in one company, and which is sometimes not so easy to build using another low-code platforms. So
And
this
last
is
but
really
not
an enterprise.
least, but I want to congratulate you that you, with the company, gained the first investment last.
Yeah, you are right. So we have investors. We have a financial investor and a technical investor. So we wanted go that way to have a combination, because we saw that the finance investor, which is a venture for a future fund, give us approval of our actually operations. In the technical investor, which is Soitron Group, with revenue around 200 million euros per year. So and they are also our partner. So for us, it was quite important to get the feedback from such a big company that will tell us, okay, the platform can be used for robust applications, and we actually want to invest to the platform.
Amazing.
So we hope it will go so well also in the future.
Will do.
But it cannot be other with such amazing people like you and other
And you.
and other colleagues. Okay,
Let's go to the market.
let's go to the market. So this is some kind of general slide telling about that this low code as a term was coined by Forrester in 2014, I believe, first time, just to mention the application development platforms that will make application development easier and more accessible. So it is not kind of a very specifically defined term. It is just a family of different tools that should make your easier life of developers easier, or to enable them to implement things faster. And because it's a family of different tools, so sometimes those tools are more oriented to no code, so means that anybody can create an application. Sometimes that developers can make it faster, but it's not really no code, and you have all of the combinations here, and it is quite important to see for what purposes you would like to have your local platform, and we are the answer if you want to have a enterprise local platform that you will be not that will enable to that will be flexible, will enable you to make really robust and rich applications that nowadays you have to do using traditional full stack development, because no code platform is enough for your needs. So in that moment, you still would like to go low code, no code, but have the flexibility of rich full stack development, then we are the answer.
I will use a couple of our marketing stuff that enable non-developers and make life of developers faster and smoother. And also,
And I will say this.
Go for it.
I will say this as low as possible and as rich as needed or as necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, and what I wanted to say to this slide is that, as Carter says, in 2020, just 1 of 4 new applications were used or developed using low-code, no-code platforms. But it is expected that this year it will go to 70%, and next year it should go to 3/4. It means 3 of 4 new applications should be developed using low-code platforms. So it becomes a standard nowadays, and it's really replacing custom development. And we believe that it is necessary to have a low-code platform with a low-code language that allows you to extend itself. Because sometimes you find boundaries that you cannot cross using existing low-code platforms. So the extendability is a very crucial feature.
And case by case, those extensibilities are different, and you need to always somehow adjust.
Okay.
Let's move on.
And this is actually a slide that is telling you how you can use Netgrif Platform in your environment. So, and actually, the type of applications that we try to cover are process-based applications. So if you have business processes or workflow processes where different users are performing different tasks when they want to process a case, then Netgrif Platform is for you.
Okay.
Different actors, and sometimes these actors or users are employees or internal systems, and sometimes, or we would like to enable also to cover your customers or clients to be part of the process and to perform tasks.
Either locked and not locked users can be part of the workflow.
Yes, employees and also clients. And as we said that we are trying to cover process-based applications, so business process management layer is our main building block.
Okay.
It is an application layer, which is actually controlling those processes and assigning tasks to different users. And after they perform and finish their tasks, so the process is progressing and assigning tasks to another user. Yeah, this is actually this big rectangle
In the middle.
in the middle. This is this business process application layer, and you can connect this business process application layer either through API or using robot process automation or using pre-built connectors to different third-side applications.
So whether you're having like external SQL or you're having like legacy system, you're able to get there.
Yeah, you have LDAP and or other identity access management.
You can join.
Yeah, you can have old legacy systems. Then do not offer API, so you use robot process automation to perform a single task in the process, etc. So there are different possibilities to connect or integrate with third-party applications. So through standard REST API, SOAP API.
And if I'm not wrong, like we are building it on top of the full stack, so there's Java and Angular in the background. You're able to build whatever for new application that is like custom application.
Because the platform itself or the application layer of the platform itself is written in Java Spring Boot framework, so you can extend, you can write your own integration, plugins or modules, and you can call them in a low code. So in that way you can extend Netgrif beyond Netgrif and to build your own extension. Yeah. And in that way as a partner you can also differentiate from other partners if you want. So you see we have spoken about this big rectangle in the middle and about that you can connect it to existing application. You can connect it even to another Netgrif platform that you use to replace another application. But you also would like to have a user interface for that application layer. And we have two kinds of user interfaces. One is eTask for registered users.
Okay.
Usually those registered users are employees of our customer. And you also have, and we call it eTask, like electronic task systems, where the employees perform the tasks they have assigned to them.
As the users, yeah.
As the users. And we also have a eForm user interface or eForm client, which is for the non-registered user that is not logging to the system and is approaching the system through a web page with a web address. And this unique web address is giving you access to one task only and to the form of this one task. And that way we can integrate even non-registered users into the process and to make the tasks or forms approachable or accessible to those end customers.
So
and end
eForm
clients.
solution is just one task that is
Yes.
like covering something that the
Yeah.
external user need to make, and eTask
Yeah.
is a place for multiple tasks where employees are getting their job
Like
done.
for example, if you have energy company and you would like to ask for electricity connection, so you fill a form.
Got it.
And this is a starting task of a process. As we will see, we'll speak
Yeah.
about that later. Okay. And this is just how it looks.
Yep.
So you can maybe describe this first screen better.
So after the employee logs in, either by the like some external IEM system or by some internal login, they will get into a dashboard, and that dashboard is composed out of all the application agendas that we are having in that eTask solution. And when they choose one of the agendas, they will directly go to that agenda, and in the bottom left you can see a list of all tasks that are within that agenda. And on the left side of that screen, there is a multi-layer menu that is there to help navigate within the application, to jump to another agenda, to another application, to see another view.
I will jump here and I will tell you that in the very beginning, we just had this list of tasks as an eTask.
Many times it is the only thing that is used for some customers.
And this dashboard at the beginning is something what our customers requires. So it's like, this is how we work. If we see that there is a demand for some feature from our customers, we are actually changing the platform
And we
or
are able to
adding-
implement it,
and adding that feature to the platform. So this was something like we say, okay, we need some starting page, so we did it. Yeah.
So, and once the
And
user...
what happens when I want to work with the tasks? I have a list of tasks, but I want to work.
Gabo, once you choose one of those tasks, for example, in this list, now we are having the screen in the bottom right, and that is the thing that the employee sees. It is a task composed out of the form.
So, okay, this is actually a single task.
Yeah, that's a single task.
So, for example, I have to check whether the invoice is good recognized by OCR here.
Exactly.
Okay, this is okay.
You're able to change the data within the
So
data
here I
fields.
see, in this concrete example, I see three things. I see that actually probably we were integrated on a third-party OCR
Exactly.
system. We called in low code a method. Please, I send you a file, give me data of that file and fill it in the form.
Yeah.
And now at this task, the employee had to control whether it was correctly.
In this case, it was like semi-automatic, so the user is able to also change the OCR data from the paper, and once they are like happy with the outcome of this task, they are able to
So
either submit
you
their...
have agendas,
Yeah,
then you have a list of tasks, and if you click, you have your form.
you have one form.
Perfect. Okay, Luboš, so this is the single task.
Yeah, it is.
And actually the eForm is just a single task for anybody who has this link.
Exactly, and it can look like this. This is just the same view that employee can see, but let's say we are able to put there some other graphical
Okay.
types.
I see here two different design. Does it mean that are these still the same components, just different, just with different design?
We are having a component library in the background in the Angular part, and there we are able to redesign it in whatever way the customer needs. So when the customer having like some design library or design menu, we are able to put it into the application, so the end customer will be having a feeling that they are in the same application as they were working before.
So I got it. So from functional perspective, these are still the same Lego pieces.
Yeah.
But they looks different because one customer had different corporate design and one had another corporate design.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
And to be true like that, upper one is using our default or almost default library, and the bottom one, it was in the insurance company. They were having their own corporate design library, and we just in a couple of days were able to implement it.
Luboš, I think it's time to go to use cases. And now floor is yours.
Thank you. Exactly. So for use cases where we are showcasing of how our customers can choose like either eTask or eTask with eForm or eForm only with BPM. In this case, we are having a utility company that is having from our side only the eForm solution and the BPM part of the eTask. The eForm solution works to collect data from the end clients of the company. In this case, we are talking about Central Slovakian energy company that is using our platform to collect all the data when a customer wants to change or make a new installment of their gadgets within their region. Once the new application for this sort of application to have a new installment is submitted, the task is gathered in the BPM system that is systematically driving the workflow, whether to check the task in a ticketing system or DMS solution or in whatever other third-party stuff. But non-employees are part of the workflow in this case. Different case is in a healthcare company. That is a healthcare company, Agel, here in front of the Central European market.
So can I ask you, Luboš, how many hospitals do they have here?
I think there are around 40 hospitals in Czech Republic and Slovakia at the moment. And there are around 13,000 employees that are able to access our application on a daily basis.
So it means the applications serve for all these 40 hospitals and all the employees?
Exactly.
Okay.
For every hospital and every employee of this group, everybody can access the application. And from what we know till now, around 1,000 users are there daily in our application, dealing with whatever agendas in their eTask solution that they call dashboard, that is covering financial department, HR department, IT department, orders, contracts, and processing of, for example, incoming invoices. Also, there is right now some development of an eForm solution that they will be using for communication with their contractors. But right now they are using mainly the eTask solution to drive all the internal agenda or non-medical internal agenda of the employees.
So if I understand good, so the first use case was mainly for communication between clients of the energy company and the energy company itself to close the contract. So the people submit an application, and then the process is processing until the contract is closed between the customer and the energy company. But here it is mainly for the employees that actually are asking or applying for different things like a credit card, company credit card, or a phone maybe, or something like that. Or also for the communication between partners of the holding.
Like that part is right now in development, but yeah.
Like suppliers, and
The first part was B2C solution between the energy company and the
But I have seen there that, for example, you are like processing incoming invoices based on outcoming orders. So it means also in that process there has to be a communication between partners, our suppliers of those hospitals and the hospitals themselves.
All the internal agendas in here are connected all together with our inter-process communication solution. So every order is connected to some invoice and to whatever contract.
But on an abstract level, what is common in those both use cases is that somebody is applying for something and you are approving or rejecting or sending him back.
There are requesting processes.
Actually, there are processes, so you have several different users, they have several different tasks, and according to a process map, they do some pieces of work or work items or tasks. Okay.
Exactly, but what else I do have here is the similar slide that you had before. It's an insurance company. It is a Slovak insurance called Union, which is a daughter of Achmea Group from Netherlands. And they are in their solution using, as you mentioned before, all those three aspects of our platform. So either systematic processing of processes, but there is portal for internal employees, but also eForm applications that are for communication with their end client. But not only that, as our platform is based on an enterprise stack, they are able to digitize using our platform whatever custom application they need. So, for example, there is a processing of new applications to an insurance company that is helping them to reduce the number of errors that they are making with this processing, but also reducing the amount of people that need to work with this process.
Actually, this use case is for two companies because we have a general insurance company, Union, and we have a healthcare insurance company, one of the three healthcare insurance companies in Slovakia only. So this is like the full power of Netgrif.
Yep.
Because they have both communication with end clients and end customers. They have internal processes of the insurance company, and they also replace some of the application. I think this is one of our first clients, and they are already more than 6 years client, and now are going to cloud.
They are right now coming to the newest version that is Dockerized, that is containerized, and will be running in their private cloud. You are right.
Okay, and many of the processes here are not only human processes, but are fully automatized processes, such as processing of contracts for.
If I'm not wrong, there are tens of processes, and multiple of them are in some manner like processing of batch applications.
Yes, so it's like taking some zip file from a server and creating subcases and sub-processes and processing
creation of specific category of application that need to be also checked
or checking data in third-time systems, so it heavily integrated with third-time systems, as we see.
But as we are having that also in the diagram, as the platform is built on an enterprise stack that is based on Java, we are able to integrate to whatever. So also in this case, RPA, integration to ticketing system, OCR, connectors, typical standard web services, etc., etc.
Okay, perfect.
And to finalize our use cases, here is a leasing use case coming from the company called Tatra Leasing, which is part of Tatra Bank here in Slovakia.
Actually, it's Raiffeisen Group.
Yeah, it's daughter of Raiffeisen Group, exactly. And they are using it for dealerships. Am I right, Gabo? You were closer to this use case?
Actually, it was one of the first applications that we implemented, and it's also like almost 7 years or more than 6 years, similar to Union case. It was about a leasing company, an importer of the cars, and dealerships of the cars. So we have three parties, like dozens of dealerships. We have an importer of cars, and we have a leasing company that is financing the cars of the importer for the for the dealerships. So like if you are in dealership and you want to have a car in the showroom, for example, or you want to have a car to make test drives, etc. So those cars are financed by the leasing company, which is actually giving some credits to those dealerships, etc. So 3 different kinds of companies, dozens of companies together, and I believe that they use it for several different car importers here.
What I really like about this use case is that there is not only the employees of the leasing company logging into the application, but also the partners, people coming from the different dealerships
and from the importer. Yeah.
So there are like
dozens of companies.
There are like tens or hundreds of users, and everybody is like able to access it.
And actually, I believe this is in Amazon Cloud. So
AWS.
It's running in Amazon Cloud.
All the use cases that we had there before were in on-premises. Right now, the Union is going to cloud, and also Agile is thinking about that. But leasing company, etc., is already having our application up and running in the AWS.
Okay.
Okay, Gabon, that's everything that we had from use case.
So, if you want to understand and predict the future in programming and application development, it's quite good to understand the past. And if we should use just one sentence to explain what about the programming or application development is, so I would say that it is about people or human telling computer what to do. And why it's so difficult? Because the machines, computers, speak different language than humans speaks. And by different language, we do not understand or do not mean only like different language. We do not understand like different language when people speak like German, Slovak, or English, which is on the same abstract level, just using different words to describe things. But the abstraction level in which machine speaks, I would say, or understand, is absolutely different from the abstract level that human use. And the whole history of development of programming languages was about making abstractions from those concrete zeros and ones, from this concrete so-called machine code that computers understand. And the first abstraction was assembler, where we abstracted from the concrete addresses in computers and using symbolic addresses in computers. And then later on came languages of higher level, such as C or Pascal or Fortran, and later on C++, object-oriented programming and object-oriented programming paradigm, languages like Java that try to be platform independent. And on the other side of the spectrum, the people also try to actually create less abstract languages or more exact languages in comparison to human languages, which are known as modeling languages, such as different diagrams where we drag and drop different artifacts of the systems and their relationships. For example, data models and entity relationships diagrams, or UML, different kind of UML diagrams, business process modeling and models and notations. So different kind of, or event-driven process change, different kinds of...
But Gabo, what is the situation right now in the world of development? Like, how are people, like, what are the groups?
So I think the first idea was, okay, we have these languages and the bridge will close, the gap will close. But the problem was with internet and computer networks, because at one moment you had not only standalone applications in one computer, but you had this client-server architecture.
Okay.
And you need to store data somewhere. So you had one computer where you store your data, which is a database server. Then you had an application server where you store the manipulation with the data. And then you had computers of users, also called clients, that communicate with this application layer, with this server.
Okay.
And at that moment, you have different protocols for communications. You have different languages for different layers. Like, for example, you use SQL and relation databases for the data layer. You use languages like Java, C++ for application layer, and on the user interface. Today, you use usually HTML, JavaScript, or different frameworks like.
So you have like multiple languages that need to be covered by multiple different experts.
Yeah, and all those things run on a kind of middleware, which are different operating systems and different servers, and you have to install them, and maybe they are running in cloud, so you need to install all of these stacks.
So not only like different developers needed for implementation, but also that architecture, infrastructure, people who are dealing with different operating systems and methodologies.
You are right. It's like Babylon Tower.
Yeah.
It's like Babylon Tower of languages, and you need a lot of different experts, even security experts that are actually making your data safe and not accessible.
Testers, different testing tools.
So instead of making simpler, it is more complicated. And if you want to implement or develop an enterprise application that is running on those servers, and people can approach it, so it's really difficult.
Okay.
And the low code is actually just another layer in this abstraction. It's tried to be an answer for this, so it's actually abstracting from those layers. And the first thing that is coming to your mind or could come to your mind is that we should abstract from those layers. We should actually have a language where you can describe the business objects.
But what is the similarity with another side, with the analyst consultants? Like, what is the, like, as you said, like, stuff are coming from the right side, from the human, and also like from the left side, from the application machine. So those analysts are also like creating graphical representations of applications. But what is that?
Yes, actually the problem is that if you go from the side of human, and then the human language is not exact. So even if you are drawing those diagrams, so their semantics or interpretation doesn't need to be necessarily exact.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you are on side of source code for programs, then you need to be exact. So sometimes even the same diagram that is used for modeling purposes to help people understand what is the specification is something different as you want to use the same diagram as a source code for implementing. Because at that moment you need details. You need really exactly what should happen if you, for example, start performing these tasks, or what should happen when you finish to perform these tasks. So it's different between the model and between as a specification, more or less, because you are modeling the world and you are specifying with this model what should be implemented in this program language. And the aim of these local languages is to be at the same time a modeling language, but enough exact to serve as a source code.
So made graphically, so analysts and consultants will understand what it means when it is drawn, and also executable.
And therefore those local languages are very often visual. It means that they are not textual, they are visual. You are drawing some diagrams, and then you are using those diagrams or try to use them in local languages as a source code at the same time, or generate source code. Okay. And this is our answer, as we said, our answer is that we are trying to actually integrate these three layers. So if you see on that slide, we have data objects with attributes similar to object-oriented programming or in tables in SQL relational databases. But we add to each and every object or class of objects, a workflow, which is a life cycle that is telling you how the data can change across their lifetime.
Okay.
Or lifetime of those objects. Yeah? And if you are using workflow processes to describe life cycles, so you need to tell what are your basic building blocks. Yeah?
What are they?
So in all of the modeling languages, BPMN, event-driven process chains, etc., they are, some people call them activities, some people call them process steps, some people call them tasks.
Okay.
And some people distinguish and saying, okay, when it is in the description of the process, like in the class, then it is a task. When it is performed in a concrete case, then it is of that process, then it is an activity. And if it is performed by this concrete activity by a real user, then it's called a work item. This is as it is in theory. So we call them tasks.
Okay.
And what we advocate, most of those modeling languages like BPMN do not have explicit notion of a state. And we advocate that it's good to have, for implementation purposes, to have a notion of state. And if you want to know what is a notion of state,
For what you need it.
so because you don't want to have this process model just as a map. Imagine you have a map of streets, but you want to know, for your case, like for example, you have a workflow process of an application for a mortgage.
Okay.
But you want to know, for a concrete mortgage application, where are you in that process map? Like if you have a street and you have a car in those streets, one thing is to have just a map of, and another thing is to have a car in real time, at the real moment, somewhere in this map.
So you not only want to know what is executable at that given moment, but you also want to know what is the state.
What is the state? Where are you? Yeah.
Okay.
Is it submitted or is it approved?
So
Yeah.
the
you are asking
users
about-
are informed what's
You are
happening.
asking about the state. Also, business people are used to ask about the state. And what should we do if it is rejected? And actually, if your model is using classical notations, you have just a step decision, and the step can go to is accepted or is rejected, or you can give it back. Yeah.
That's necessary metadata that you need to know.
This is actually a good thing to have when you want to implement processes.
What about all the other stuff? You are having forms, data, roles, actions. What are that stuff?
Actually, as I told you, that we say that process models should consist of these basic building blocks, which are tasks. And we say, okay, and if somebody is performing the tasks, then you are actually manipulating with some data attributes. And you need to have some kind of user interface for that.
Okay.
And this is actually, we say that each and every task might have just one form.
Yeah.
Like if I have a task to submit an application, then I have an application form where I'm filling some kind of data. For example, how much money do I want for the mortgage?
So some tasks are having forms and some tasks are not having forms.
Yeah, sometimes do not need to have a form
system
necessarily
is working with them?
because when system works with them. So actually, if you have a system integration, if you have a process step which is not performed by a human user, but maybe a machine user,
Okay.
then you could have something like a form, a subset of data attributes, and this is those data attributes that you use, for example, in your web service, in your API. So it doesn't necessarily mean that machine tasks do not have forms, because sometimes they might have a subset of data attributes that they work with.
Got it.
Yeah, and in that moment, actually, the form is actually the web service
Okay.
that you are.
That tasks
yeah.
can work like a web service
Yes.
to connect to some
Yes.
third-party solution.
Yes.
Amazing. And are you storing that data within the
Yeah.
workflow?
Yeah, you are storing not only the data that are actually the data of the case,
Okay.
but you are also storing the data about the state of your instance of a process, where you are actually, etc.
So you are having like pre-built metadata that are like states, what are the tasks, but you can also create a new data
Yes.
that are telling like, for example, with that mortgage.
Right.
That,
Yeah. If you have these data objects down there, so you see that you can have some textual data, number, date, file, like your name, surname,
That's helpful.
etc. So you have really these all-in-one objects. Yeah. Then you have data, then you have life cycle to those data. Life cycle is consisting of tasks, and tasks have or might have forms where you can actually perform the task.
Very cool.
That's all. And on the right side, you have these events and actions, because those basic building blocks, those tasks, can have some events. And what do we mean by events? It's like if you assign a task to a user, then it is an event. If the user is finishing the task, it is an event. If the user is saying, okay, I don't want to perform this task and I'm canceling that task, yeah? So is this an event? So we have 3 basic events on tasks, like start a task or assign a task to a user, finish a task, and cancel a task.
Okay.
You might also have something like reassign or delegate in a language that will also say, okay, the task that somebody is performing, I will change the user. that
You
is
assign it to somebody else.
Yeah, but you can do it like cancel and assign to another user if
Okay.
you want. So doesn't necessarily mean that this event is necessary, but it might be helpful to make it easier to model. So it can be actually composed from those 2 events, but it is nice to have it.
And can you also call those actions from, for example, data events?
Yeah, and data or data attributes have 2 basic events, like changing the value, like set data, and getting or reading the data from the server on your screen. Yeah, so you can use those 2 events. And what is really nice that if somebody is triggering, a user is triggering an event, actually, for example, assigned user to a task is finishing that task, what might happen that you are writing a small piece of code called here action, where you can write what should be your reaction. How should you react to that event? And then you can call, for example, another event. So you can trigger chains of events. Like finishing a task, I can create, for example, another sub-process.
So the actions are actually reactions on top of events.
Yes.
Events.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's true.
That's pretty cool.
And you can also call a web service in an event.
But how does it work? Like you are having like some pre-built set of functions that you are able to call from this.
You are having a pre-built set of functions, and what is really nice that you can extend those pre-built set of functions by yourself.
And we are calling them Actions API, right?
Yeah, you are right. And you can extend them. You can write your own actions or functions that you call in your actions, like you want to send some data, some file to OCR.
And as the platform is based on Java, you are able to create new functions in Java?
Yes.
And those functions can be called from low code?
Yes.
And this is the bridge?
Yeah, this is the bridge.
Okay.
So you can use different, as we will see later, different kind of people that are writing like just those Java extensions of the Action API, but connecting to your legacy systems, etc.
We haven't covered the 2 more things that are in here, the search queries and roles and users.
Yeah, the roles and users we actually were like implicitly mentioning.
Yeah, of course. We are having users there.
The users are actually the objects in our platform that can trigger tasks or trigger events on tasks and data. And roles are actually in role-based access control. Yeah,
RBAC.
Yeah, the entities that you can say that this user has this role, and you can say for this role, I'm allowing or not allowing to perform or to trigger different events. Like this role might be assigned by this task.
Here I have to mention that we are not only having the RBAC,
Yeah.
but we are also having like IEM built-in user access management.
But you can also use external if you want, so you have built-in and
Again,
you can
Java.
connect.
Yeah,
Again,
amazing.
with an API. And the last thing is search queries. Because sometimes if you want to perform something, you need to find all tasks that are like performed by somebody who is going to holiday. And you want to reassign all those tasks to somebody else.
Okay.
Or you want to finish on one task, you want to finish several tasks in all of the sub-processes of that task. Yeah, for example. So you need to have a search queries when you can say, okay, give me all the tasks that are from this process and this user is performing them,
Okay.
etc. So you need to have a search queries that can find instances of processes, tasks in their instances, and you can use data values of data attributes and users in those queries.
From what I know, that you are able to use these search queries either from the user interface to like find anything you want to
Or
have it ready.
or in actions.
In actions.
Or in actions.
Okay.
And you can say, okay, in here in action, I'm like filtering the task and getting the list of tasks that I have to automatically approve, for example.
So everything that is like around these process models, around these low-code applications can be found through easy search query. Nice.
Okay. And now, this is the slide I like the most. Because actually, if you do something, you want to make life easier for your customers or for users of those of your platform.
That's added value that we are bringing, right?
Yeah. This is actually, I was in this full stack custom development involved several decades, you know, also in business process management, both in academia and trying to mostly on this analyst side, but also a couple of projects myself implemented, but it was a long time ago. And then I also observed this traditional low-code platform. And what was the difference between writing a code and this traditional low-code platform was like just replacing writing of textual code by drawing diagrams.
Okay.
They actually borrowed those diagrams from these modeling platforms that were used to model systems, and then they were used as a specification for coders or for programmers. So the first generation of low-code platforms were like, okay, you can just drag and drop here.
Okay.
And a code will either be generated or interpreted, those diagrams, and you will have running applications. But you still needed to create your data layer and drag and drop your data layer, drag and drop your application layer or processes, and maybe to drag and drop your forms and to connect them. And the connection was actually quite wild because you could connect one table to 7, 8, 9, 10 different processes.
So spaghetti
It was
binding.
like spaghetti binding. The binding was usually spaghetti binding. And many of the platforms were focused just on one or two layers. Like, for example, you have one tool or one solution to create user interface, another solution to just cover BPM or processes, and another solution for databases.
Understood.
And some of them also are not covering all of these layers. And even if they have, they actually need to connect them.
So they are just making the layers separately and then somehow binding them all
and
together.
what we try to do in comparison is to actually to build vertically integrated objects where you're just saying, okay, I still have my data attributes, they have a life cycle in formula process, and task in that workflow process might have forms.
Okay.
That's all.
So how are they then making the application executable in that traditional low-code platforms?
So actually you have two different possibilities. So you can either generate the code in these lower level languages, like for example, you are dragging and dropping your data model or entity relationship diagram or class diagram, and you are generating SQL scripts from that.
Okay.
Or you are having your workflow and you are generating some Java classes and Java objects, or you have a dragging and dropping environment for forms and you are generating HTML with JavaScript together. And then you need to connect them. Or another possibility is that you have actually kind of interpreter. You are dragging and dropping and having some internal representation and somehow interpreting those diagrams directly. Yeah.
So either translation to lower language models, or another thing is that you are able to interpret those applications into lower languages.
But very often, if you're just interpreting, so you are creating objects directly. Yeah, and you have some internal representation.
And it's different from the modeling?
Very often you do not have a language.
Okay.
That you can take them and have a clear readable language, something like programming language, like low-level language, that you can say, okay, this is my application.
Okay, so no language included in those traditional local platforms?
Most of them not.
Okay.
There are now some attempts, some low-code platforms already have their own languages, local languages, but it is not actually so we were not used to have those languages in all the platforms.
And if you can describe it, please, how we are doing our Netgrif all-in-one object approach.
So as I told you, so we are actually making vertically integrated objects. So you still have data attributes, and you have a life cycle of those data attributes in workflow as a workflow process consisting of tasks or flow of tasks, and this task might have these forms and this all. So you have such objects that are vertically integrated, yeah, and you can generate from a builder code in Petriflow language, which is XML based, only for those actions where you react to events. It is a piece of code in Groovy language, and this actually source code you can take on your USB stick or whatever, and you have application, then you can then run it in a Netgrif engine or Netgrif Platform engine, and you can interpret those programs.
So we are having a running web application that is consisting of our application engine.
Yeah.
And this application engine in that running web application is able to interpret on the fly our low-code language objects.
Oh yeah, really.
Source code.
That is the principle.
And that's something new, right? That's a new
that's
concept.
something new, and that is actually something that is, I believe, so quite powerful.
It's really powerful.
And because it is extendable, so you can go to Java, you can extend the platform itself, and then call those functions, your new API functions in this local language. So this is really powerful feature.
That's great. That's great. Okay.
So because this is the biggest disadvantage of low code today, that sometimes you are like you cannot go through a wall. You have some boundaries and some things that are not possible to implement in these low-code platforms. So, and then if you go to those boundaries, so you cannot go beyond. But because we enable people to extend the low-code platform by their own action API functions, so it means that you can actually extend the platform for yourself, yeah, in these traditional languages, and then just use these functions that you wrote yourself, these new added functions, in the low-code. And this is, I believe, a unique concept. Yeah. So it's not enough. If it is not enough for you as a partner, what Netgrif is doing, then say, okay, I take it, and I will add something what is actually specific to me, and you can distinguish as a Netgrif partner from other Netgrif partner because you have this unique extension of the Netgrif platform. But you don't need to re-implement the wheel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to explain why we are different from the full stack application development, or that is straightforward from the comparison with traditional low code?
But maybe here I would say maybe a few words to that, because
Do that?
imagine if you are talking about full stack, so you have to say, okay, which stack do you have? And now imagine that you have a traditional stack, and one of the traditional stacks is that you have SQL database. On the data layer, you have Java, for example.
C#.
Yeah, say Java in application layer, and HTML together with JavaScript or maybe some framework, but translate to HTML and JavaScript on the user interface. Now imagine that the business user is coming to you and saying, okay, I want to have a surname of a customer in our system. So it's just very simple requirement from the point of view of business. But from a point of view of this Babel Tower of languages, they will say, okay, we will have an input field called surname in HTML. We will have a variable called surname in JavaScript. And then we will send those data maybe on some click or some button click through some post to my application layer, where I need to have a Java bean, which is a Java class that also has a attribute called surname maybe. Yeah, so I have now HTML, JavaScript, Java, and then I need to have a table in database, which is maybe called customer, which has a column surname. So I have at least 4 different languages, and in all those 4 different languages, I need to create an attribute which corresponds to surname.
Specified surname, yeah.
But this is something what is not necessary. So if you would have, or if you have Netgrif, so you're just saying, okay, I have an attribute called surname, and all of this flowing through those layers is hidden from you.
So just one task with one form where it's just one data field surname, and you are done.
Yeah, you are done. You don't need to take care about the layers, etc.
Cool. So let's jump to another slide, and I believe this is our last slide before the demonstration.
So,
may I?
Yeah, you can do it.
This is my really favorite part, as it really simplifies the development, and that's the part where I'm usually doing these demonstrations. So in our case, we are not having the full stack application IDE software development environment, but we are having our application builder, where you will go and you are able to drag and drop whatever workflow, whether you are having pre-prepared BPMN or you are coming with the model.
You can import BPMN.
You are able to import BPMN, or by using Petrinets in our case, in our Petriflow language.
So this is the Petrinets are the native modeling formalism.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You can easily import BPMN because there is a lot of literature how to translate BPMN into Petrinets.
And we are not able to do it another way because there is not a machine literature, right?
Yeah. And what is nice that there is also a lot of literature how to translate event-driven processes to Petrinets.
Yeah.
And actually there is a lot of literature how to translate any model
into Petrinets.
Yeah.
So you say that the Petrinets are the mother of all the business process models?
I would say they are used in the research area as a semantics, as a formalism that you use to describe semantics for all of those different modeling techniques for business processes or workflow processes.
But we are also supporting the standard in the business, so we are covering
we can import BPMN. I have heard from our colleagues in Netgrif that you also can import like data models from different tools like software architect,
Okay.
and it's creating the CRUD, create, read, update, delete processes
Okay.
with just this simple life cycle with all of data attributes, and then you can
And all of that you can do in our application builder, which is online for free.
Yes, online for free.
Application development environment. That's really cool. So in there you are able to create those workflows, those forms,
Yeah.
data, actions, roles,
Yeah.
those search queries, and create whatever application. So if I see there in the presentation correctly, we are having there some form of request, simple request application. And once you are done creating the low-code application in our application builder, you can download the source code. You can export it into a XML file,
Yes.
which is in the end of the day readable source code of this low-code application, where you can make also changes in the XML, but you don't need to, as everything was done graphically. An application builder can be seen in our XML files, and these XML files are movable. That you can like share it via
Yeah.
internet, put it into the USB stick. And if you will go to another application, to our application platform, where we are having all those three layers with front and back end databases that are created on a mainly Spring Boot in the server side. For a presentation layer for a front end, we are using Angular, and we are saving all the data in the data layer, which is composed out of MongoDB and Elasticsearch.
Yeah. That's true.
And when you are having this local application, you log in into a web portal based on this stack. There is our application engine. You are able to upload your local application, and on the fly, it is interpreted into those layers, where it is saved as a process template application. And from this application, you are able to create new process instances, either as a logged or not logged user.
Yeah. As we have seen,
Yeah.
eForm, eTask, and business process layer integrated database, as you said, MongoDB data index in Elastic,
Exactly.
Java Spring Boot as an application layer together with Redis for sessions, and Angular frontend. You can accommodate your components as you want based on your design of your or for your corporate design. You can change them, and it means that the application might look different when implemented by different or for different customers,
Exactly.
by different partners. So
But still the same concept.
still the same concept, still the same components, just different design. Okay,
But that for demo.
let's go for demo.